My particular story, so I said at the outset a little bit about kind of I don't know, the skills and the jobs that I've had that gave rise to what prepared me for the work that I do now in advancing racial equity with corporations across the globe. But what motivated me, Justine, what motivated me then to start and motivates me now is really my lived experience in my childhood. So I am an only child, and I am born to two parents who were very, very steeped in the civil rights movement in the 60s. My father more violently so than my mother, but both of them, to be sure, had their own experiences with just the basics of trying to exercise Black life in an excellent way in the United States, and only being able to do so um, through a lens of permission, like whatever white America was prepared to dole out to them by way of their what they felt was constitutionally appropriate, and that's just kind of the life of all people, not all Black people, not just my parents. But because my dad, like when I grew up on a historically Black college campus, Hampton University, where I ultimately matriculated. My parents taught at Hampton University, so I'm from Hampton, and I grew up around an incredibly beautiful, academically potent, extraordinarily um, uh, prolific, all these P's,
I love
academic.
these.
The P's are great. Like all these academics, Justine, that just sit around. My parents growing up, they just sat around and pontificated all the time about the plight of Black America. Like,
Well, I mean, I don't want to interrupt, but I'm curious if that environment gave you like
yeah.
a bubble effect that you're like, everyone's living this life, everyone's talking about this stuff,
Well, I
or
did.
not so much.
No, it didn't give me a bubble, but it gave me. And I mean, I was very clear that this was unique. I wasn't clear how unique, but I
Mhm.
was clear that it was unique because the way that my parents talked about the desire to feel the warmth of the Constitution and the elusive promise of the American dream, and the fact that Black people always, always, always had to fight for the right to exercise our rights without exception. I mean, like that is without exception even today. So I knew that there was some uniqueness that's just specific to the way that Black people have to move. And but what I didn't have an appreciation for was the kind of academic orientation around how we talk about that, and the literature that my parents would cite, and the theorists that they would bring into their arguments. I mean, my mother was the chairperson of the English department, and she would literally, at our home, we would have people like Maya Angelou and Tony Cade Bambara and James Baldwin coming to our home because
Wow.
they were coming to speak on campus. My mother would have a dinner party for them. So like
Oh
these are
my
the people
gosh,
that I
amazing.
engage with. And so I came out of my formative years, going into my collegiate years, really understanding like I am the bar.
Right.
Maybe that's arrogant, like, but I'm like, my parents set a very high standard, very high bar around my own elocution, my own understanding of worldliness, my own the insistence on being well read and being well spoken, and understanding how to engage with audiences from a multitude of walks of life from a very young age, and then kind of being spat out of that into America's America, where everyone expected me to just be this poor Black kid from the ghetto.
Mm,
And I was, and I just, I'm not bemoaning that. I'm just saying that the narrative of Black is so singular in our country. Even today, it's so singular. And so the voice then that I've developed is an authentic one, is one that was nurtured since I was 7 years old. But I'm clear that it is also one that is met with my American comrades with some level of endearment. Some people find me, white people especially, find me um, interestingly articulate. A little bit of what they didn't most don't expect by way of my heft, both by virtue of my pedigree and how I work. And so like there's like a piece of that voice that I'm just so happy and honored to have owned. And to your point, like in utero, my grandmothers
yeah.
operated in this way. My parents operate in this way. I operate in this way. And I expect and have trained my children to operate with the fullness of all of it.